Monkey Man is the new directorial debut from Dev Patel, also starring Dev Patel as a man who works in an underground fight club who hatches a plan to infiltrate the elites in order to exact his revenge. This is a bloody, bone-breaking action brawler that people are saying is like in the mold of John Wick. It's got a lot of homages to Asian cinema, action cinema, from
a lot of Korean,
Korean revenge movies to stuff like Ong Bak and The Raid as well. It is a really interesting film for Dev Patel to make as his directorial debut, kind of casting him in the light of an action star, something that hasn't really been his reputation throughout his career. And
that's pretty ballsy, though.
Yeah, it sort of shines a new light on like what he can do as a movie star, and I think it's a pretty interesting movie as well. Definitely one of the most hyped films that we got at South by Southwest, where it just had its world premiere. Amanda, what were your thoughts coming out of Monkey Man?
So I did like that. When you hear John Wick, you hear that he's casting himself and he's directing it. You almost worry that he is going to make himself a little bit too OP, like overpowered, kind of like how Jake Gyllenhaal was in Roadhouse, where it's like you're pretty much unstoppable. But no, he openly said it's like, no, I'm a fighter and I'm going to be a very good one, but I'm also going to take a lot of hits. I'm going to get knocked down. I'm not going to be the best. I am going to be the unlikely guy. I'm not going to look like I should be winning any fights. And I liked that approach to it versus just making himself this like thing of legend. Because even John Wick gets the shit torn out of him in every movie, and that's what makes him so cool. But even he gets the air of like, oh my god, it's John Wick, almost like, oh my god, it's Jason Bourne. Like John Wick gets that. He becomes a myth almost through it, like the Baba Yaga, like the whole thing. It is literally a thing. Dev kind of avoids that a little bit by just being so dedicated in this like one mission that he has in life, and it is very, very cool. So I think that this movie starts incredibly. It's very dynamic as it's kind of working out how he's planning to work his way up, his dedication. He almost has a little bit of like a Joker origin story with some like burns on his hands where he kind of tells different stories every time about how he got them. And then this is where me and Zach differ. I think that this has like an incredible beginning, an incredible ending, so dynamic, so fun, so satisfying. I think the middle is so muddy. I think that's where it hits a lull. I think it doesn't necessarily do enough to engage with you some of the bigger themes that are happening. I'll admit I was a little tired, but like I was awake the entire time. It is one I want to revisit for that, but I do personally feel like there was a pretty distinct lull in the middle of the movie. Then like once it kicks back, you're like, you're good and you're going, but it's like he falls into a river at one point, and it's like after that for like at least an hour, I'm like, okay.
This is neither complimentary nor
an hour.
Not an hour.
It's not an hour.
It's not an hour. That was
this is neither a compliment nor an insult, but it reminded me almost of the structure of some video games where, you know how a video game will throw you in and show you, like, this is how cool it can be.
Like
they'll
Uncharted.
They'll give you, like, an amazing mission off the bat, and then they take you more almost like through a tutorial that slows down before it picks back up.
And I just think that the tutorial needed actually a little bit more tutorialing.
Yeah. Well, that part really bothered you. I do think it is a lull in the film, but I think there's a lot of really good stuff in there. There's, like, an amazing training montage that I'd, like, put up with there with like the Rockies and stuff like that.
It's up there.
But it does. That's when you start to get into like the whole mythology behind this idea of the Monkey Man, and also this revenge plot. And as with most films, I feel like flashback kind of hurts momentum, and particularly in that moment, it's like you've given us so much like visceral action and this really incredible sequence, and then to slow it down is kind of a change of pace. So it becomes muddier there, and the story itself isn't exactly like the most clearly defined. Like, we're not immersed in Indian politics the way that some people are, so we're not picking up on some of what I'm sure are the subtleties in there. Yeah. But there is this whole idea of working your way up through the caste system that is totally like understand. Like,
yes, very, you get it. You see what's happening.
Yeah, and it's a cool way to sort of frame this. Like, I think we see a lot of films that are just standard kind of guy wants revenge for how he was wronged in the past. And rooting it more in what's going on in India and the whole societal dynamic there, I think adds a lot to it. But ultimately, the thing that I took away from this is just how badass a lot of it.
It's so badass.
Taking off his shirt.
It's badass. It is badass.
I asked him. He gave me an answer. I said, Jake Gyllenhaal no shirt or Dev Patel no shirt? And he said, oh, it was something about Dev.
Something about Dev. The ladies agree. The ladies agree. Based on that screening, they agree.
I mean, look, Dev is a really handsome dude in this movie. I don't think you can deny that, but I just feel like, you know, he, unlike Jake Gyllenhaal, who you mentioned is this kind of unstoppable force, there's just this wiliness to him, a little bit more unpredictable.
Yeah. Like a monkey.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of adds to just the how insane this movie feels at times.
Yeah.
There's some like really sick kills in this movie. It is certainly sicker than some of the horror films.
It is. There's like literally, I think the most satisfying kill of this festival that is both kind of gruesome and fun and just kind of like, is in this movie.
Absolutely. I mean,
what's the scene without spoiling it for me? Because y'all keep talking about this kill.
I don't know how you can.
It's hard to spoil it.
It just involves a knife.
Remember how you told me
it's a little like In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature, you literally about to say,
you'll know.
You'll know.
But you had told me it's the what happens right before the cover. Is this in a kitchen? Is it in a hallway? Will it spoil to even?
It's a bathroom.
That's it. Don't tell me anything else.
I think it is a bathroom. It is after a kitchen.
Yeah.
Because the kitchen scene is out. It reminds me of
this. You'll know he's struggling. The reason why he has to do it the way he's doing it is because he's struggling. It's not a flashy kill for the sake of being flashy. It is a desperation kill. It's a desperation kill that you've never seen done before, and it's so good.
Yeah, and it's just there are certain moments like that, or sequences even, where the violence will spill over from one moment to another, from a building to the street, into through other buildings, and the way they're able to orchestrate that is pretty electric.
Yeah.
I think this is also a really beautifully shot movie.
Yes, very well shot.
The guy's name is escaping me, but it's the same cinematographer who did Whiplash.
Yes, that's when he said that. I was like, that makes so much sense.
And just the way certain scenes are lit with like a lot of red light sort of soaking the action, and it just makes it look really badass.
Things be dark.
Sharon Meir,
letting things be dark, but then also lit properly. We've seen a couple dark.
Coach Carter, he's a legend.
Yeah, there's a couple darker movies in this that were hard to see. I feel like there was a lot of scenes in Arcadian that were really hard to see.
Yes.
This was like, we're letting it be dark, but we know what we're doing, so the contrast is there that you can make things out, but it's still letting it. It's bathed in lights. Yeah. It's bathed in just vibes. It's very well done. Like, it sounded like I was way more negative going into that, but it's just because like. Yeah, it's more than I'm disappointed. I'm like, if it is just a little more in the middle, just a little more connective tissue, a little bit more momentum in some of those areas. Give me some of the like fun snappiness of like the purse passing hands from the beginning in that middle section, and that would have been the whole thing. Probably would have been perfect for me. And a lot of those problems might resolve themselves for me on a second watch. We found that a lot, that we will catch movies second times, and issues we were wondering if we had or worried that pacing might be weird. It gets a lot better.
Do you think the action is better in this movie than Fall Guy?
It's just different. Fall Guy, I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah, I mean, if Fall Guy is anything like Bullet Train, that's a style of action it's very kind of like. I want to say rubbery and not even a negative way. It's just sort of like it's balletic, right?
Yeah,
like it's really precise movements, and this is just like. Brutal. This is very like
this is
effortful.
closer to Roadhouse. The Monkey Man and Roadhouse are where I'd compare. I do think obviously some of the style Fall Guy has would be similar to Roadhouse in ways too. Fall Guy, it's just different because some of it is intentional stylized stunt action, and it's action scenes from someone who is a stunt guy, so he knows how to do things. He knows how to fall. He knows how to take hits. He knows how to use things that are technically prop items as real weapons. So
for Fall Guy or for
Fall Guy?
Because in Monkey Man, that kitchen scene, he was doing that drunken master stuff where he was using anything.
It was great. But like Fall Guy, it's like you end up in an actor's house and there's all these different props from the movies and they're using different things, and it's like the only person who would know how to make it look believable in certain things is a guy whose job is to make it look believable.
Would it be wrong to say that Fall Guy feels almost more like choreography and Monkey Man feels more like desperation, right?
Monkey Man, definitely has Monkey Man has a lot more
of the Oscars have a stunt category. You've been put on the branch, and Roadhouse, Fall Guy, and Monkey Man are nominated. Who's getting the gold?
Fall Guy.
Oh.
Because Fall Guy has everything.
Oh.
Fall Guy has everything.
You should have said, my eyes see Fall Guy.
My eyes see the Fall Guy. That's just me though, and again on repeat watches. Like again, it's like
this makes me excited because these are two movies I need to watch.
It would be like trying to compare John Wick action to Bullet Train action, I guess.
Yeah. John Wick should win.
but I do think that
they're different.
It's
They're going to be different styles.
It
There's
depends
different
what
styles
you
of acting and
yeah,
stuff.
like my mom's gonna like the Fall Guy action because it's more kinetic and fun versus Monkey Man, which she's probably not gonna watch. And she's gonna be like, "Why is your father watching this for the 30th time?" Like he does with John Wick.
I give the raid to the action aficionados because normal people are going to be like, it's a little too much, whereas Fall Guy would have been that.
Yeah, and there are some
Monkey Man crosses that line.
Monkey Man is great. No, like that's what I'm saying. The action scenes deliver; they are great. He's fantastic. It very satisfying action scenes. R.
It's a hard R.
It's a hard R.
Like you guys haven't even seen the R, but you saw the movie.
Yeah,
you know
hard R.
This is a movie that is not afraid to break bones, to leave people bloody. You know, like it does not shy away from the brutality of these kills. It's not like the Marvel thing where it's just or whatever.
Yeah, it is definitely
falling over and dying.
Yeah, choreography is probably.
Was that an R?
No, that's going to be
PG-13?
PG-13. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe here it's R. In Canada, it's definitely not going to be. I don't think so. That would be dumb to make that rated R. Yeah.
You mentioned
14A.
You mentioned recommending the raid to the action heads. I think this is going to be a movie
like
that a
that.
lot of the action heads really appreciate. It is very
like that.
indebted to a lot of those films,
You
like
can feel
specifically
it.
the raid.
Very
you can
much the
feel
raid.
The, way
The
that
kitchen scene,
You feel it.
Not just that, because he's like working his way through a building too.
Okay, so even the same approach.
Yeah, and like you know, there might be some people who like turn their nose up to it, and it's like, oh well, I see why you're doing Enter the Dragon, and this isn't it. I think all of that stuff is done really lovingly.
I agree.
And kind of like it just makes you think of the things that are great. Like he's talking about his love for Bruce Lee movies. And I think it just really evokes those films in a really great way at its best moments.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's stealing, or if it is, it's stealing creatively the way Tarantino does.
Yeah, it's more
stealing
homage.
with love. It's more homage than stealing. It's not like, oh, I did this and I haven't realized that I've taken all these ideas from things I love. It's like he knows that and he's like, how can I be that too? How can I do that?
Yeah.
You know, in a good way, in a very good way. Yeah, it's definitely the more visceral, raw fight scenes there versus like obviously Fall Guys is more polished, even if he is getting kind of roughed in different areas.
Most important question: does Ryan Gosling take off his shirt in Fall Guys? Because now we really have a comparison between Jake.
Yeah, because Dev gets a nice shirt off moment here.
I don't know.
The one stunt he doesn't do?
He might not have like a really dramatic pull your shirt off scene. I'm trying to think. I'm not the
He had
person
enough
to
in
ask.
Ken.
I'm
This is why Monkey Man is better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to notice. Clears. He might, but he is kind of like, it's funny because he's a badass in the Fall Guy, but he's also kind of like that goofy, slightly like that Ryan Gosling that's willing to take the shit. That he's willing. It's not like he's going to get locked in the Vin Diesel versus The Rock, where like neither one can lose in their contract, so they have to like stalemate all the time. Like he's willing to let himself get the shit kicked out of him and have weird things happen. So I'm trying to remember. I don't know if there's actually ever a scene where he takes his shirt off.
And
I don't
if
think
there is, the fact you didn't remember it, I mean, I know it's not for you, but like still,
he's Canadian. I appreciate it, but yeah, no.
Language-wise, you guys are telling me that this takes place in India.
Yeah.
Do they do a good job at balancing what would be in English and?
Yeah, I mean,
They steer English for sure.
They steer English. There is some non-English language.
A good amount, yeah.
Yeah, but also India is a country that a lot of people speak English.
Yeah, there's actually just different. I feel like people don't even realize that depending on what region of India you're from, there's
Speaking
different
Tamil,
dialects. Like
I'm curious to see people who know more about those politics.
I've seen Siddhant. He was talking about it a little bit. I feel like that's kind of making me feel like I think he was saying that the movie needed to do a little bit more, even for people who are familiar with the Indian politics. It came across as a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. I think to him
cloudy.
It came across as maybe vapid, and to us it comes across as like, oh, well, we don't normally engage with it, so it's a really interesting.
It's interesting, and I wanted more.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm also like not always looking for that deep of dive in my actual thrillers.
Me neither.
But
it was so prominently featured at times that I felt like it needed.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the movie, what it's going for is not necessarily like to be a deep look at like the political situation.
Agreed.
Or more of a representative one,
Absolutely.
right? Like these are people who represent rulers. He even talks about some people representing like God in the movie.
Yeah,
and I think elements of that work. I don't know if I'd put this movie up with like the all-timer action films. I think there's some pacing things that keep it from there, but there are moments where you'll feel like you're watching like
and I do actually
reaction movie.
feel like it had a weird engagement with the concept of God at times.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it went really not Jesus-y obviously, but like godly at some points, but then also didn't want to fully, because like it ends with a quote, like it ends with something like that. So I feel like there was just some things I definitely want to watch it again and like maybe pick up on some more of the small stuff. It is still like it's good. Like I'm not trying to sound negative on it because I do think like I'm saying it's like an amazing. It's like a sandwich with the best bread in the world, and then the middle's kind of like maybe we didn't catch it on its best day. You know, maybe
We're
it needed
looking
to
for
be
a
heated
meat
up.
and bread.
Maybe it needed to be heated up a little bit more. It's a little cold. I don't really like cold dishes. You know.
I'm still excited for it. I will
It's
not
good.
be
It is
catching it in
very
4DX, but I'm looking for that Dolby.
Yeah, I went 4 stars on it. This is one of the few movies I really responded to
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I mean, like we've been talking about how there haven't been a lot of movies that have really excited us. This is one of the few ones where I was like, I am going to tweet my thoughts about
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
It did electrify me a bit, even if it's not perfect.
That's cool.
And that's what I'm looking for a fest like this. You know, it's just that
electric feeling
that makes you want to jump out of your chair.
And you showed me the Q&A. It looked like everybody was
everybody's
excited
having a
in the
great
crowd,
time.
and
Everybody's having a great
that's what
time,
you're
and that's
living
when.
off of.
And it was like that was the other thing I want to mention. He had a really hard time making this movie. I didn't realize apparently because he started working on it during the pandemic, and then
he had
it
to be
went
part of it, yeah.
total
A little
stalemate.
before, yeah.
A little before, so total stalemate once the pandemic hit. Couldn't get anybody to get it done. So then by the time it was pretty much done, that's when Jordan Peele comes in and it was like, I'm going to help you
But
get the
also-
distribution.
Y'all got to see him
help you finish up.
introduce him. He looks
and he
so great.
and he
Jordan
wanted
Peele
to
was here at
leave. He
South
wanted
by.
to step
Yeah,
up stage because he didn't want
'cause
to
he
steal
knew.
Dev's moment.
He knew,
didn't.
yeah.
And Dev insisted he come on stage, and he still stayed way over to the side so that if people were getting videos, he wouldn't
Another
be.
part, another part that I liked. He showed me the intro where he knew Dev's gonna be really nervous, so let me do the thank you studio heads, thank you
Yeah,
this,
let
thank
me
you that.
do
I'm
that.
like, bro, you're such a good
He's so
wingman.
good.
Yeah.
Wingman, yeah. So knowing the care that's going into it for that is
That's
very
cool.
cool and helping it get finished thanks to Monkey Paw Studios.
And just speaking more about the troubles he had making this, he broke, I think it was his foot 2 weeks before production.
Oh, his arm. No, his hand. His hand.
No,
it was
he broke
his
his hand 2 days into production.
Right.
So they had to re-choreograph some of the scenes so that because he had a nail in his hand, so he could only hit in certain ways.
And he wasn't supposed to at
Yeah.
all. Like he
Have the
actually
nail in his hand?
Well, no, they like the doctor said, don't do anything, no weight, no nothing on your hand, and immediately goes back and starts punching people. He's lucky he can still use his hand for this movie. Like he almost
Got
permanently
an eye infection from crawling
disfigured.
around in bathroom floors and stuff. Like it's
It's gritty. Like they are showing
gnarly
you
at times.
every level of the system of India, from the ultra elite people paying for people from all around the world to do whatever they want to them,
To
and
the
then
beggars on the bottom,
the people, like 30 people sharing like a room.
The less fun people have making a movie, usually the better it is. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's fair.
excited.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. He seemed so proud and humbled by the whole thing. So it's really nice to see someone so passionate about what they do. I do think it can be really rough. Sometimes people want to direct and act in things and they kind of hang it in, and the first AD is doing most of the work. We've talked about it before. This I do. I do feel like he was heavily involved in everything, even though he's in every shot. I do believe that he.
That's a good point, right? Because even if it's off to a second unit, it's like, okay, sure, second unit, but it's still you in that unit as the actor. Plus, I always think back to The Office and John Krasinski. That man had to work overtime, still is, with the action genre to get out of there. What a genius move. Start with action. Start with what people already know is the hardest to get. That in comedy, right?
Yeah.
Boys already been funny. Boys already been dramatic. I think he needed an action movie. And he can now do whatever he wants.
And he nailed it. He's a believable action star, like incredibly
That's
believable.
the biggest jump in.
And honestly, I guess I kind of saw a little bit of that in Green Knight, where that's more of the cowardly action. He's not actually the action star.
Yeah,
He's the
Green
guy
Knight
who
was even
wants
more
to be.
drama
It's
still,
very
yeah.
drama. But no, he's great. It's a really good movie.
That's
Definitely
awesome.
worth seeing, especially if you're a fan of any of those kind of like.
What can't this man do?
Especially if you're a fan of Dev Patel.
And Dev Patel as well. If you're a fan of Dev, you got to check it out.
How is
just
he
to
not
support the
peaked
boy.
yet?
Right.
He's in the underbelly, like the Super Yak. He's got Dev Patel shirts. Like they know.
Yeah.
They've been on it.
But it's like he's not.
Well, I think the
Slumdog
question you're
Millionaire is
asking
insane, first of all.
Yeah,
think
but
the
then I
question-
think that's gone full circle where people don't like it anymore.
Well, I mean, don't tell the audience at South by that. It got a huge applause.
It did, but think about who's in that audience. Like everybody's going to cheer, everybody's going to love because it's him, and you're there for him. But like,
I think it just happened. The same thing that happens to most Best Picture
it
winners.
is,
where
yeah.
You start to get the backlash.
Yeah, it became the butt of a joke of The Office. You know, it was an Office skit.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's a great movie. It's an incredible
movie. He
movie.
was having flashbacks. I thought it was Slumdog.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I think the thing you're talking about Dev's opportunities is sort of the thing that we started with at the beginning. That him putting himself in a role like this really cool. kind of explodes your opinion of who Dev Patel is as an actor. So I'm really looking forward to like what the next pivot is, what this leads to. I see people being like, well, maybe he could be James Bond, and you know what? He would be a dope James Bond.
He would be a dope James Bond, and just knowing like he's still very thankful to Slumdog Millionaire, just being like, this is a movie that no one wanted to see happen, and that was a movie that no one wanted to see happen, and now look where they both are, kind of thing.
Academy Award nomination with that other one that he was in, the
Lion. He was nominated for that.
I mean, he's up there. He's got a good show that I still need to catch up on with.
Yeah.
And now he's a director.
Oh, he's great.
Feature director.
Good movie. Great movie.
Shout out Dev.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie.